Get attitude means, how can I proactively change the way I think? How can I proactively increase my life? How can I proactively create better relationships and better work situations for me to enjoy it?
And welcome to the GAP, the Get Attitude Podcast, The Gap, bridging the gap from who you are to who you want to become and from where you stand to where you want to go. Hello, my name is Glenn Bill, founder of the University of Attitude, keynote speaker, and author of the international best-selling book, The ABCs of Attitude, and I've been fortunate enough to help tens of thousands of people get attitude. Attitude, the secret formula to success in your business and in your life. And this podcast is going to help you get yours. So let's get some. I want to welcome everybody. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review. And if you like what you're going to hear, which I know you are going to like what you're going to hear today, because our guest focusing on Attitude Booster number 9 is truly amazing and probably one of the most certified people we've ever had come in here. Today we are going to meet with Susan Van Hoosen. Susan is a population health strategist for LHD Benefit Advisors. She is also a certified corporate wellness specialist, a certified well-being promoter, a certified health coach, a certified meditation and mindfulness teacher, and a certified yoga instructor, which really is the most fun out of them all. She is also the author of an unbelievable book called One Bite at a Time, a true story of transformational change and 7 life lessons learned. Susan, welcome to The Gap.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's very exciting to be here. Very exciting.
You have been a busy lady. You've done a lot.
It's been a journey. Yes, there's a lot to do.
We are focused here on Attitude Booster number 9, eat right and exercise.
Love it.
And I know that this concept of eating right and exercise gets into mindfulness. It gets into wellness. Give me your thoughts on how diet and exercise play a part in wellness and mental health.
Yeah, I mean, it's the root of, optimal mental health and physical health. So often we're focused on the physical, the exercise. So many of us have the exercise piece down, right? But then we struggle with the eating right? The eat, or I like to say eating better. So, you see people at the gym and they, they're hitting it at the gym, but they can't figure out why they still can't lose weight, right?
Right.
It's because we can't outwork a poor diet, right? But also there's so many other components. It's that mind body. It's understanding what is our inspiring sense of why do we want to feel better? Why do we want to, move more? I like to, I kind of stepped away from the word when I was coaching. I stepped away from using exercise because it's work. It's like a workout. It has the word work in it. And I like to more kind of integrate just moving more. How can we move more?
I love it.
It's less intimidating. It's more relatable. I think everybody wants to move more, and you don't feel like you have to do it, right? It's not a chore. So if we can just think about how can I move more, move more throughout the day versus exercise, people get stuck there, right? So people get stuck there.
So when you talk about moving more in your corporate position, my guess is you're working with people that are sitting in front of a computer for 8 to 9 hours a day, or people that aren't moving as part of their work day. Do you help them with what to do, and what do you do if you're one of those folks?
Yeah, so I work with many different types of industries and employer populations. So of course you have the office worker who's sitting. You have the the sales folks that are out there sitting in their cars, and then you have the line workers that are shift workers that maybe get a half-hour break. They're in that one station and they're only moving one way for what their certain job function is. So it's really finding, first of all, again, what is that why? Why do they want to feel better? Find something that they like to do. Maybe it's not, a workout, but maybe it's, going on a walk during a lunch break or at a shift break, or taking a screen break, an ice cream break, sneaking in more movement, whatever that may be for that person's lifestyle and their job function.
And so when we talk about sales guys and lifestyle, right, it's sitting in their car, it's out running, knocking on doors, making sales calls, but then it's I only have 5 minutes, so I'm going to Arby's, and I'm going to get a double processed meat, extra cheese, with curly fries, but I will get a Diet Coke. Right? Hello, Mama.
Oh, classic. You know what I always say to the salespeople is, you know what? Prepare just as you're preparing for that sales call, right? As you're preparing for that sales call and pitching that service or your product, whatever that is, part of your plan should be, how are you going to plan to perform optimally? Pack your bottled water, pack healthy snacks for the road so you don't get stuck and you're driving through the junk through. Right? And you're then
the junk through. Dang, I like that.
Driving through the junk through and then wondering why you're tired later and you're gaining weight. So prepare for success. Set yourself up for success and plan your meals. Pack healthy snacks. Bring your water.
So you've given us some, but like, hey, there's people sitting in their car, walking on the beach, walking right now, going, I've been walking 29 miles this week and I haven't dropped a pound. Like, what are the three most important things when the whole piece, the mindfulness piece, like what are the three things people can do to feel best?
Gosh, you know what? One of the most underrated habits, sleep.
Right.
Get more rest, you know, and people are, there's an epidemic of sleep deprived people, right? So unplugging before bedtime so that you can fall asleep and first of all, fall asleep. And, you know, I'm an 8-hour girl. If I don't get my 8 hours, I feel it, you know, 7 to 8 hours is optimal. So it really starts with sleep. We, you know, if we're not getting sleep, we're going to be more prone to stress, to inflammation, to weight gain, to poor choices in what we're eating and drinking. Our energy levels are going to suffer. So it starts with sleep, hydration, water, you know, starting our day with water, integrating water throughout the day. And then I like to say, you know, one bite at a time really is stepping into those healthy habits of putting whole real foods in your body, right? You know, if it has a food label and you can't pronounce it, probably shouldn't be eating it. It was made in a chemistry lab, not on a farm or not from the ground, right? So sleep, hydration, and really looking at what are we putting into our bodies.
Right. Because they said if it has an expiration date, you probably should not eat it.
You know, if it has 10, 20 ingredients that you can't pronounce.
Right.
It's a food product. It's not food. It's a product.
Packaged
and manufactured to be shelf stable and sit in your body and
and never leave. Which it doesn't.
Sometimes it doesn't, especially if there's no fiber to help eliminate.
Right. What? I get it. Or Activia. Do you believe in Activia?
Oh, loaded question, Glenn.
They don't sponsor my podcast, not yet, so you can say whatever you want.
You know, I believe in probiotics.
Okay,
I believe in probiotics, right? And if, you know, you're not taking a probiotic, certainly we want to first look to getting our nutrients from food first and not supplements. I have not read the label on Activia.
A lot of sugar.
I was going to say sugar. How much sugar would be my first question?
Too damn much.
So I would say, you know, take a probiotic, right? Or a plain Greek yogurt with no artificial sweetener to make it taste so good.
Right. Let's get back to this sleep thing. What are your best? Hey, look nobody can sleep well.
It's an epidemic.
I mean, it's horrific. Now, I prefer to do a shot of bourbon and then take 2 Advil PMs, and usually I sleep great, but then I wake up a little tired and groggy, right? So I'm guessing that that's probably not the best choice for my mindfulness to sleep.
Wait, are you serious?
I am serious. Every Sunday. So I don't sleep during the week. I've just said, all right, look, but every Sunday I demand of myself to medicate myself in a manner that I sleep. And I really don't do the shot of bourbon as much as I do the Advil PM. So tell me how Advil PM's ruining. But like, hello, you got NyQuil. Like, everybody is pushing sleep aids now. Like, so crazy.
You mentioned medication. So, you know, the only difference in the word medication and meditation is a T and a C, right?
Love that.
So if you don't want to be on medication, you know, something to at the end of the day is going to disrupt your sleep and, you know, not be good for your system to rely on a medication. You know, it's just looking at getting still, right? Unplugging, quieting your mind, that monkey brain, you know, to settle yourself so that you can have a restful night's sleep, not just on Sundays. You know, it's not something, it's what we do matters. What we do every day matters more than what we do once in a while.
Right.
So what you do every day is going to help you more than what is on that Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
So, when we talk about sleep, especially workers today, if whether folks have been furloughed and they're hoping to get their job back, or they've been laid off, or they're working overload and burned out at their job right now, their sleep is oftentimes suffering.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we know social media and, all the digital world we live in is feeding into that. So it's, disconnect, unplug. It's the basics. Unplug about an hour before, try not to eat 2 hours before bedtime, journal, put your worries to bed. I like to say, tuck in your worries and your stress, write them down and say goodnight. Settle yourself, settle your mind, but practice it. The first night you'll probably find yourself going, this isn't working. What can I do now? Right? The monkey brain starts.
Yes.
But, get back to breath, get back to unsettling and just practice it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a practice.
I love it. Jason, are you feeling better?
Yes.
He was meditating on that.
I was really paying attention to the sleep part, because I am not a good sleeper, and I also kind of medicate with vodka, or I got some Buffalo Trace over here. We could do a shot of Buffalo Trace.
Well, vodka doesn't have any calories in it.
I know,
it is
that's
a
why I do
cleaner
it.
choice.
It's healthy.
It's a cleaner choice.
But I heard tequila's an even cleaner choice than vodka.
It
True?
is a cleaner choice. Yes, it's a clean choice.
Okay, well, there you go. But probably not the best choice when it's all said and done.
When it's all said and done, moderation, obviously. But
Right.
that might be another podcast.
Moderation. We've had some moderation talks
Yeah.
for sure. Let's talk about this book called One Bite at a Time, a true story of transformational change.
Yeah.
Tell us your story, your true story, and what you were faced with and what that transformational change looked like. I know we have people who listen to this who are like, oh, shit, I can't believe this just happened to me. And so I think your story would go a long way in helping them know that there's a place to go and you can get to the other side of the bridge.
Yeah, absolutely, you can. There's hope. And I'm living proof of that. So I lost my husband, Trent, on November 2nd, 2012. It'll be 8 years in, less than a month, which is crazy to me to think that it's been that long. I feel like I've relived 2 lifetimes since then.
Yeah.
But, Trent was a very healthy, physically strong, took care of himself, healthy, young 46-year-old. He had just turned 46 3 weeks prior. We had just returned from our wedding anniversary trip in Nashville. But with that said, he'd been feeling a little tired. Was, working overtime, putting in a lot of hours, a little stressed at his workplace, just a fast-paced environment. And, men typically won't go to the doctor.
Right.
And I actually had an appointment for him that day at noon. He did not make that. Ultimately, let me back up and say Trent had a blood clot in 2008, right?
Wow.
That they had tied up the vein, so that it wouldn't travel to the lung and kill him. And he was on Coumadin. They put him on Coumadin.
Wow.
At that time, he was in his 30s. And, he was taking the Coumadin and, a blood thinner and, doing the research, always being our own health advocates, learning that, this is kind of a dirty drug. And, it can have really harmful side effects, especially taking it so young. And, I try to avoid medication at all costs. So he wanted to get off the Coumadin, and we talked about, hey, if you start to feel, tightness in your legs or fatigue, we'll revisit this. So we knew that he wasn't feeling well. Certainly when I look back at the signs and the symptoms, it's so clear to me that it was very serious. But you don't want to believe that when you're going through something.
Sure.
And especially with men, guys out there, please, when you're not feeling well and have those symptoms, and ladies too, heart disease is the #1 silent killer.
Right.
Often goes overlooked. Get yourself to the doctor. But anyway, Trent, ultimately, he went to work that morning, and I begged him not to go. He wasn't feeling well. And, he came back, and about 30 minutes later, after he left for work, he actually worked in a hospital. And he came up to the stairs and looked at me and just collapsed at the end of the bed.
Wow.
Ultimately, he had a pulmonary embolism. It was another blood clot that traveled to his lung and ultimately took his life.
Wow.
So Needless to say, I was in shock, and looking back, I see that I had PTSD for probably a few years, but I didn't know that then.
Sure.
Right? I didn't know that then.
A lot of that going on.
A lot of that going on. It's going on
now.
right. It's going on right now.
Yeah.
And at the time when I lost my husband, I thought my world was over. I thought my world was over. I, spent weeks, I think, looking back in bed. I couldn't move very well. I was just looking at how can I survive. I was in shock. And it was about a month afterwards, I got my daughter on the bus, and I realized that I could barely walk. And I was someone, Trent and I were very fit, active people. We had started CrossFit before CrossFit was even known about in this area.
I remember watching you guys on social media working out.
Yeah.
And Trent played middle linebacker at Iowa State.
Iowa State. Oh, don't get the two confused.
Oh, I understand. We talked because I got along with Trent. We were both college football guys,
you
right?
Guys were buddies.
And he, so he was a specimen.
He was.
Dude,
he was a beast.
Yeah, he was a freaking beast.
And a health nut, right? He took care of himself.
Yeah.
And so it was, and when you're not feeling well, and I've noticed myself do this. I'm okay. I'm healthy. This isn't, you ignore it, but we must be in tune with our bodies. So. I realized that I didn't want to live like that anymore, and I was in survival mode.
Sure.
And I thought, what, I need to accept this, and I don't want to just survive this. I want to thrive and start to feel better again. And so my go-to feel better was always exercise.
Sure.
So I, went downstairs and put myself through a real short, CrossFit WOD, and I remember surrendering on the floor, thinking, and I realized it was the first day that I hadn't cried.
Yeah.
The first day that I hadn't cried in 31 days.
And exercise gave that to you.
Exercise gave that to me.
There
it gave
you
me
go.
mental strength. Physically, I couldn't give 100%. I gave what I had. And that is the key to just, start, one bite at a time, just start again. And, seek healthier choices. And I decided then that I was, going to every day try to do something to feel better. And so one workout, a day, one bite at a time turned into realizing that part of that transformation too was seeing that, when we lose someone that close to us, at least for me, we hopefully reevaluate our own lives.
Right.
For me, the question was, looking back, I see that I was experiencing some acute depression. I had never experienced true depression before. Not sure, how I wanted to live my life. But when I had that awakening and that aha moment after, having that exercise and deciding that, I wanted to be here and I just didn't want to survive. I wanted to thrive in my life. And what was that going to look like? And although I previously loved my job, we worked together.
Yes.
I was there almost 12 years, loved the people I work with. I knew that I needed more. I needed more meaning in my life. And certainly we were doing great work, but I needed more meaning. And I needed to be able to, and what that meant for me was to help other people heal along their own journey. And Trent's saying was when we were faced with a lot of challenges in our life, and often at one time. And he was the laid back one that he could take naps. He could be relaxed about things. He was a Libra, and I was the Type A.
What's your
personality, sign? Gemini.
Ah.
And so. I was never one bite at a time kind of girl. And he would say, hey, how do you need an elephant?
Right.
One bite at a time.
Cool.
And I used to just kind of balk at that, saying, and it really set the tone for my grief. It was my self-prescribed grief therapy to go on one bite at a time. Oftentimes, it was 1 hour at a time. It was one day at a time. It was 1 minute at a time. And sometimes when we're going through a storm, whether it's a pandemic or we're going through our own life storm, it starts out as maybe 1 hour at a time.
Yes.
And then it's one day. And we have to make that decision to have faith and want it and want to rise up to our highest calling. So for me, that meant I needed to step away from corporate America, step away from my job. And, for me, it meant, I'm going to serve others to help live their best, healthiest, happiest, most inspired life, one bite at a time. And it's going to be different for everybody. So that's how I formed Inspired by Fitness. And, you know, it was so blessed to have that business for 5 years and work with people along so many very similar stories, but on their journey in a different place and space.
Sure. And it's so cool that the title of your book creates a legacy for Trent.
Yes.
And that
Yes.
you know, that he's there on that cover every time, which is so cool.
Yeah, and that's actually the actual rock at the corner of my neighborhood. That's my strength rock.
Really?
When I started to get out as part of that, it was probably a few days after I had that first workout. I used to always jog to that rock. It's about a 2-mile trek in my neighborhood, and I certainly did not have the energy to jog early on. And I thought, if I can just walk and get there, if I can just get to that rock, that'll be my strength rock every day. If I can get there. And, you know, I remember seeing it for the first time and getting there. And I'd been running to that rock for years. And that became my strength rock. And then eventually I was able to run to it. And then I would meditate on it. And so that rock was represented the rock of strength, the rock of, you know, having hope.
And is it still there?
It's still there.
And you're still in the same house?
It's my rock, yes.
Right. And if they try to move it, shit's going to hit the fan.
Yeah, they cannot move. That rock is there. It is, yes.
Let's delve into the 7 life lessons you learned. And you don't have to give all 7, because I know people are like, Glenn, tell me your 10 attitude boosters. And I'm like, oh, man, I know I should know all this right now.
It's been a bit since I've revisited.
So I won't do that to you. People are always like, hey, Glenn, motivate me. You're a motivational. Motivate me. Come on. I'm like, well, hold on. It's not really the setting. So, but maybe hit 1 or 2 that you can bring back that you feel are the most important of the 7 that you talk about in the book.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is, you know, I had to relearn a lot of these lessons just a couple years ago. I lost I lost my father, and both of my parents got sick at the same time. My brother got cancer and stayed with us. My daughter was going through health issues, and, you know, I was in another storm.
Yeah.
And I found myself having to really mindfully go back to some of these lessons that I had learned and practiced. So I think now we're in a time too of, you know, hopefully these lessons can help people within this pandemic of, you know, first of all, it's never too late. You know, it's never too late is a biggie. When I was making a career change and going into the fitness industry at age 43, I was questioned on, aren't you too old to be doing that? Or, you know, are you sure you want to leave everything and that you have and take the risk? Right? Take a risk of starting your own business. And to me, I'd already lost everything.
Yeah, you said, hell yes, let's
go. I
go.
lost everything. And it was no longer a risk for me. You know, it was I took a leap of faith. And, you know, one of the lessons is it always works out for the even better. Not that it always works out, but for the even better. Right? And for me, it worked out even better than I could have imagined and dreamed.
Sure.
And so, you know, just having that faith and just practicing, again, it's 1 bite at a time, right?
Sure.
So the 1 bite at a time lesson is, you know, practicing and having that belief and knowing, you know, really connecting to what's important to you. You know, people always ask me, well, how do I know what my purpose is? How do I find my purpose? You know, and, you know, there's some questions we can ask ourselves, and I lead people through this in the book of, you know, what activities light you up? You know, what gets you most excited to get out of bed? You know, where do you find yourself losing track of time? Those are your passions, right? Find a way with your passions to serve others. You know, service is one of the lessons, right? If we find a way to take what we love and serve others to help, it'll all come back to us even more.
Sure. Contribution and growth being 2 huge emotional needs, right?
Yeah.
Why do we do what we do? And we know the spiritual emotional needs of growth and contribution really do that, which is what you embody, which is why I had to have you on the podcast. And I know when you went through that, I mean, you got that book done within a year, I think, and I just always admired how you dealt with it. And, you know, I didn't know Trent real well, but I know that that's what he would want for you, you know, as cool as that is. And so just such a great story, very poignant. And, you know, now I love how you said, you know, you lost it all. When people are like, well, how do I know what I need? I'm like, shit, lose it all. Go spend everything, lose it all. And then guess what? Nothing is a real big challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't have to be. For me, I was broken down and broken open.
Yeah.
I was broken down and I was broken open, but what was broken open in me was a way to be able to rise up. And so, I want to teach people that you don't have to have that to be broken down and wait for that brick over the head, right? Life is always talking to us. There's those nudges, those little whispers or those little signs. And if you're aware of it, it's really cool when you're in flow with life and you're aware of it. But if we ignore all of these things, the brick is going to come. We're going to get broken down, and hopefully we don't just get broken down, but we get broken open to see what is the purpose of that, so that we can really grow and then rise up.
So what you do now is you go into businesses and you work with people on wellness and mindfulness. Talk to me about, I don't know, maybe like a client, you don't have to say who they are, where you're like, damn, I just did some good for these people. Like, what was the setting? What was the need? And what did you feel? And maybe what was the lesson that you learned from that?
Yeah. Well, I'll make it more relevant and really talk about what I'm actually going to be doing tomorrow with one of our employer clients.
Let's do that.
So I work with our employer clients, right, as basically the wellness consultant for our firm. And so I get to work with, HR directors and benefits team on how do we integrate wellness and employee well-being into our benefit strategy. And so, we're in a time right now, with this pandemic and racial injustice and these environmental catastrophes all happening at once. And we have people, in the workforce who are really looking to their employer to help them through, right? And how do we navigate this time? And how do we, as an employer, we look at how do we make sure our employees, first of all, understand their benefits, what's available to them to help them, everything from, the basics of an EAP, an employee assistance program, or how to access telehealth and navigate the healthcare system. But how do we make sure they're well? Because we care about our employees and we want to make sure that they have the resources to be productive, to be energized, to help still grow the company if we're growing, or help still deliver, right? And to bring their best to work. How do we do that? So, for example, tomorrow, what I started seeing in our population health data over a year ago was really the rise of, you have your top three, your chronic conditions, right? Every week, all of our employee populations and, the top three highest risk factors that we always look at to drive strategy and how are we going to educate and program. It's diabetes, hypertension, and BMI, right? The top three that are, it's American lifestyle diseases. We can lifestyle our way into them, and we can lifestyle our way out, right? So,
amen.
How do we do that?
Preach this stuff.
Preach. So I started to see in our data that mental health was starting to really rise to the top, right up there with diabetes and hypertension as far as claims cost, as far as top medication, as far as, what are the top health risks that are affecting an employee population, so we know how to develop strategy and what type of programming and education and workshops to provide employees to help manage their conditions. And so I started talking about this, really, destigmatizing, having that conversation. And it was new for a lot of people to really talk about mental health and, then really look at how, as a comorbidity, how that affects, if I'm living with a mental health condition and I have and I'm living with diabetes, it's really going to be hard to keep on top of managing my A1C and making healthy choices, right? I'm not going to be in the mindset. So it's really all together, right? If we can focus on and really support mental health, then we're going to be impacting those other lifestyle chronic conditions that our employees are suffering from and living with and spending on. So this particular group that such a exciting privilege to work on, we started to see the mental health rise to the top. And this particular client, they have such a strong leadership team, and this group really cares about their employees. And, they said, hey, we want to make sure that we are first, making sure that our managers are equipped to help our employees when they need to refer to an EAP, or first of all, do our leaders and managers even know what the EAP is?
Right.
Or how to access telehealth themselves, or have they downloaded our, health insurance app?
Yeah, that all sounds extremely stressful.
Yeah, right.
Right? Because anything technology now, I found out, which I suffer from a mental illness called I want to strangle technology. And it's like, hey, I need help. And they're like, here's 50 answers. And I'm like, I'm a sales guy. I'm an ADD person. I can't read my way through this.
Right.
So that causes a lot of.
Yes.
So, but like, that's huge.
Huge. Because, if we're ready where we need to talk to somebody, or we're sick and we're worried we have COVID.
Right.
And, we're going to do a virtual visit, it's going to be stressful to go, oh, shoot, I never set up my telehealth and download my profile. We want to have it ready in our phone so we can go tap, tap, and we're talking to someone, right? Or be able to call a number for EAP assistance. So we always start with, hey, let's leverage our existing resources, make sure our employees know what help is out there for them. We want to make sure that first of all, they know how to access care. Right now it's a time of educating people on how to be resilient, savvy healthcare consumers, how to navigate the healthcare system.
Right.
And a lot of that starts with education. So I created a survey, and first we surveyed the leaders first to see, okay, where are we as managers first in this organization?
Terrible.
What do we know, right? If we're going to be able to help our teams, we first need to assess leaders, right? And so we got the survey results back. I just sent those over today, and I'll be reviewing it tomorrow on this training. But the CEO and the director of HR are very forward-thinking innovators who really care about their employees, and a company that has made smart business decisions. So they're actually, they're doing well economically in this pandemic. So they're an essential business. So most of their folks have been at work from the beginning. And so we also wanted to see let's get real with what type of mental health needs are there, because there's 100 ways we could go when we look at programming. Is it resiliency? Is it coping? Is it, hey, I got kids at home working remote, doing school, and I'm working from home. How the heck do I manage this? Is it caregiving? Is it anxiety and depression? So, we wanted to assess those things first to see where are our leaders and managers? Where do we need to start educating them and make sure our leaders and managers have what they need for themselves and help their teams? And then we're going to take it to the next level. So tomorrow's training is a leadership training on sort of mental health 101,
right?
And really educating on resources, assessing and strategizing and collaborating on next steps.
So you'll be peeling back the onion a little bit.
Peeling it back, yeah. Talking about
kind
it,
of the funnest
destigmatizing,
part.
yes.
Right. And creating a safe place.
Creating a safe place, yes.
Which is the number one thing. So we've had some other folks on, and it's like, well, first of all, my brother does a lot of this. And I forget what broadcast he was, but so amazing how people don't feel safe, especially when they're talking about mental health or what they're feeling or why they don't eat right and why they don't exercise. What do you think the number one reason is people don't move?
Wow, gosh, that is a good question. The number one, I thought you were going to say the number one why people don't report they have mental health issues.
Right. Well, we know that because they don't feel safe.
They don't feel safe, right? And actually, I was researching this topic and found that oftentimes people will not share with their supervisor that they're struggling in their job.
They think they'll get fired.
They're worried about their job, which causes even more stress. But the number one people switching gears don't move. Gosh, I think it's different for everybody. Moving takes, it's a mindful action. It's a mindful choice, right? It's easy, especially if we're sedentary and we've been sitting for a while. We have to mindfully choose to get up and move, right? And sometimes it's not always easy.
That's true.
True. So that's why I like to say, instead of thinking about going to exercise, how can you just get up and move, get up and stretch, whether it's dancing, doing some, just moving around, taking a walk, whatever that is for someone. We got to remove sort of exercise from the mindset, because that feels like exhausting, and it's work, and it's intimidating, and it's one more thing we have to do, right?
So what is, and then let's hit on the eat part of eat right and exercise. Eating is a choice, right? Why do people make the wrong choice? What's inside their brain? And I know there's an addiction to sugar. I get it. That's more powerful than cocaine and all that. I get it. But it's like, I have eat right and exercise for a reason, because it's like so simple. And 35 billion gets spent on diets and Weight Watchers. I'm like, well, shit, all you got to do, just eat right. If you just eat right and exercise, you're good. If you only ate fruits and vegetables and exercise. So how can you help our gappers who make bad decisions when it comes to either moving or eating right? What needs to go in their head what can they say to themselves to stop eating the third piece of cake or the first piece of cake?
Yeah. So
what tricks do you have?
So what you said, it's interesting. One of Trent's also sayings that I loved was the formula is simple, but it's not easy, right? The formula is simple. It's eat whole foods, step away from sugar, step away from the junk food, we know that, but we are a society that are programmed to eat on the run, to not sit down and eat, right? To take the easy, convenient choice. We're the only country with a kids menu. So we set our seriously, we're the only country with a kids menu. Yeah. So we set up our kids, and feeding them, chicken fingers and fries, or the deal meal for kids, and then they struggle their whole life as adults trying to get off that stuff.
Well, and then they market it so they go to movies, drink Coke, eat popcorn, and have chocolate.
And we're the biggie size of America,
right?
So therefore, we're biggie America. Right. We're biggie Americans. So tips are really just it's the basic. It's mindfully. First of all, ask yourself, why do I want to feel better? Why do I want to lose weight? The physical, oftentimes I find myself, when we dig deep, but then we have to realize, okay, I'm going to have to speak to people's vanity, right? Because some people, only vanity, people listen to their vanity. If you want to look good and have, clear skin and be at a healthy weight, and, that's one thing, but that's short term. That's why, diets don't work. Those 30-day challenges and programs don't work. It's truly lifestyle. So, the one bite at a time, starting with look at what kind of life do I want to live and how do I want to feel each day.
Sure.
And if I want to feel vibrant and energized and happy and more at peace, a lot of that starts with just mindfully stepping back and look and taking time to think about what I choose to put in my mouth to eat and drink.
Sure.
And taking time to set myself up for success, just like I would with my work, just like I would with my kids, or any other project that's important to me, to really plan for that. And that means setting out your workout clothes in the morning, or your movement clothes, and setting so you're not trying to think about that when you're groggy for a coffee. Preparing the night before. It's so basic. Preparation is so key for that success.
Sure.
It's a good attitude mindset. Getting the attitude of I am in charge, I am in control, because so often we feel like we're not in control, especially in this environment that we're living right now.
Sure.
But we are what we can control is what we're eating and drinking, and how we're thinking, who we're choosing to be around, and what we're listening to, and how we're sleeping, right?
And how we're moving.
How we're moving.
Right.
And it's again, eating real foods, stepping away from processed packaged foods. All the stuff that we were raised on and that makes it so easy for us.
Yes.
And if there were a magic pill, and if it were easy, then there would be no health issues. We'd all be at a healthy way and living our best lives. Yeah. I like to say, hey, for me, my happy pill is when I get a cardio buzz.
Yeah.
When I'm done with a really nice, deep stretching vinyasa flow of a yoga practice, or a really hardcore workout, or just a run, or even an invigorating lunch break walk. It doesn't have to be intense, just to feel better. If I could bottle that up, and give it to people as, hey, this is what it feels like.
Yeah, but you can't drink it.
You can't, so it's really, just starting your day with intention. Starting your day with intention of, I'm going to make choices to the best that I can, and starting each day knowing that it is a one day at a time. It's a one bite at a time.
Right.
People get really ambitious and say, January 1st, I'm going on that diet, I'm doing that weight loss, and we know the data shows us by January 31st, half have dropped off. By March 1st, it's another, I think there's 10% left that have actually stuck to their goals.
Sure.
Because it's not lifestyle, right? Just deciding and living our best life really is deciding to pay attention and wake up and plan and prepare. And it does take work. It takes work to, as you live a healthy lifestyle. It takes work to make sure I'm packing my lunch. I've got my water bottle. I'm mindfully unplugging before bed. I always travel with snacks and food, because I know I'll be in a jam and often can't eat what's being served, at a function, or just setting ourselves up for success.
We had breakfast one morning years ago.
You and I?
Yes, and you had peanut butter on a muffin. So I've heard peanut butter is not good first thing in the morning. I'm like, Susan Van Hoosen did it. So I'm doing
on a
peanut butter.
muffin. I did it on a muffin.
I think you did. Or it might have been a piece of rye toast.
It was probably, yeah.
Something like that.
Probably not. I hope not a muffin.
Peanut butter in the morning, is that a yes or a no?
You know, for then, I will say then for me, it was a way to get my protein and healthy fats. You know, it was probably like a toast and peanut butter, right?
Right.
You know, it's a way to have I used to be in the school of thought for everyone, hey, eat breakfast. I think it depends on who we are, right? I've learned a lot just recently about gut health, you know, the gut health mind connection.
It's everything.
And for me, you know, I've never been really hungry at breakfast. I'm more of a...
Me neither.
I'm not. So I used to kind of force myself to have breakfast under the mindset and training of, hey, breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Get your metabolism going.
Get your metabolism going, but it depends. You know, we have to make sure that it's protein and healthy fats and fiber, and you know, that's different than grabbing a bagel or a donut or a sugary cereal box, right?
Right.
But I'm now practicing intermittent fasting. It's
I love
working
it.
for me.
Yeah.
It's working for me, and it's for gut health issues as well. It's really helpful and energy. So
we could do a whole show on
Whole show
gut
on
health.
that.
That's
I
a
know.
big Tony Robbins. We spent 3 days on gut health. It was crazy. So real quick, McMuffins are only 300 calories, right? So they're good for you, right? Right? Because they're only 300 calories.
There's a reason everything at McDonald's is $1. It's not real food.
Right. There you go.
It is not real food. The cheese will never mold. The
Right.
bread won't mold.
Right.
The processed meat, you know, it's
Probably not a good healthy choice.
not a good healthy choice.
I love it. Okay, well, I just want to know because I love McMuffins, but I just don't eat them anymore because of learning, right? And so this has been great, Susan, but now we want to get back into your history because, you know, not only are you a superwoman for the past 10 years, there's a whole history to you. And we do this by a little thing that we call knowledge through the decades. Okay. And what we want you to do is take it back to the very day you were born. And if you don't remember that day, you can think about when your kids were born. But what we do is we go through every decade of your life, asking you to revisit that time in your life and ask what the attitude lesson that you learned was, okay? So we're heavily edited. If you are on the spot, don't worry about it. We've heard it all. If your answer completely sucks, Jason will edit it out and make it perfect.
But we never do.
But we never do.
Oh, darn, I would have prepared for this question.
Because our guests are so good. And so we love to have people walk through their life and see the growth of attitude from when they were born to, and it's okay to say you're over 50.
Yes, I am a proud 51.
Atta
I just
girl.
turned 51.
I'm
yes.
52, so we're very close
Yes.
in age. And so that's what we're going to do now because I know we only have about 9 more minutes, okay?
All right.
So what I want to know is what is the attitude lesson that you got from giving childbirth or being born, if you remember? What's the attitude lesson? Attitude being defined as the way you dedicate yourself to the way you think, right?
Right.
And so what do you, when you think of a newborn baby, what can we learn attitude-wise from a newborn?
Yeah, so I don't remember the day I was born, but certainly my daughter, that it's not about me anymore.
Right.
You know, the attitude that I am now responsible for this wonderful, loving being and dedicating my life to service in a way that I'd never felt before, you know, unconditional love.
Right.
And, you know, the lesson there is, gosh, if we could, you know, only practice that unconditional love and empathy for everyone and not just our children,
right,
the world would be a safer, more peaceful, better place. We wouldn't be so divided and there wouldn't be unrest and illness.
Right. And you know, one thing, not to jump back, but I do want to, because, you know, there's a lot of single moms I know that are listening to this, and 8 years ago you became a single mom. What is your hope for those single moms, or what is the best advice you could give them, whether if they became a single mom with the circumstances you faced, or husband left, or whatever, or they left, single parenting? What's the attitude lesson on that?
Yeah, you know what I would say to women? You are stronger than what you think. You are stronger than what you think. And, you know, as moms, and especially as single moms, you know, oftentimes we just do it.
Right.
We take care of what needs to be done, and we just do it. But I know there's also a lot of folks that struggle with that. And, to also remember, you are not a victim, to have a victor mentality.
Right.
That we are victors, and single moms are some of the strongest, most resilient women and mothers that I know, especially single working moms.
Unbelievable.
Single
what they
working
do.
moms.
Right.
We have 2 full-time jobs, right? So just to know that you can do this, that you're not alone, find a community of support. And, one of my biggest lessons, and one that I still practice, is don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
Swallow your pride, mama. We're all in this together. Ask for help.
Cool.
Ask for help.
Well, good. I hope our single moms keep coming to the Gap, because I'm here to help you guys. I hope you guys know that. So let's go to Susan at 10 years old. I want to know, where did you grow up and what grade school did you go to?
Yeah, so I grew up in Frankfort, Indiana, a small farming,
hot dogs. Yeah.
Home of the hot dogs, yes. So, a really wonderful small town, Frankfort, Indiana. And my dad worked for John Deere, for 41 years.
Wow.
And so I had, John Deere tractors instead of pink bicycles and 3-wheelers. And, my attitude then was fun and, all play and,
You were just fun.
Yeah.
Were you the tallest girl in your class?
I was one of the tallest, yeah.
How did that affect your attitude? Or was it good for you?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Right.
Yeah.
Every other girl's like, I wish I was that tall. Right?
Yeah. And it was when my best friend, my young childhood best friend at the time, Tina, we were the tallest together.
Right.
So it's kind of like, power. So.
You had a buddy.
Yeah.
And then did you have siblings?
Yes, I have a brother, John. Yep.
Okay.
That I grew up with.
And then your dad and mom.
Yes.
They were your first 2 attitude coaches. What did
Yes.
mom and dad instill in you in regards to attitude that might have affected you that still is with you today?
It still does, for sure. So my father, who I just lost 2 years ago, this lives on in me, his work ethic, such a strong work ethic. I grew up in the church. We were, God-loving, faithful people. They taught me to, have a strong faith. My father taught me, his humbleness, to be humble, not worry about who gets the credit, just do your work, and to take care of things. From my mom, I learned more, humor and fun and play and also to serve. She was a Sunday school teacher. She was my confirmation teacher. She was a substitute teacher in the schools, and to teach others.
Cool.
And she would always say, and I used to laugh at it and mock her at the time. When I didn't want to hear it, but kill him with kindness.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But it's so basic but so true.
Yeah.
Just kindness.
Booster number 1, be nice.
Kindness.
It's amazing that everybody does what
It's
you want when you're
simple.
nice.
Yes.
And when you're a complete prick, they don't.
Yeah.
I've lived it, trust me.
It's a practice.
Right. So right. It's just a practice. So you were at Frankfort. You went to Frankfort High School.
I did.
Were you a jock or a cheerleader or in the arts?
I did play sports.
Oh,
yeah.
Volleyball.
Sports, volleyball,
Did it
basketball.
all? No kidding.
Yeah.
So then, where'd you go to college? West
So-
Virginia.
Yeah. So my senior year of high school, my father got relocated to Morgantown, West Virginia with John Deere. I thought my life was over,
Sure.
moving my senior year of high school. It actually turned out probably to be the best thing for me.
Nice.
I started to get a little rebellious in my high school years. Started to get a little rebellious, bored in a small town, and not making some good decisions. I put my parents through a bit, I'll just say. So moving your senior year, you don't have really any friend. My friend was the international student.
Right.
And all of a sudden I realized my senior I was making all A's because I had to study. I had no friends to go do things with, right? But with that, I showed myself that, wow, I was always street smart. I knew I was street smart. I never thought I was that book smart. I never applied myself,
Right.
which drove to school
teachers.
crazy. My dad was a math teacher before he joined John Deere.
Oh my gosh.
And I realized, what? I like this feeling. I like getting all A's. I want more of this. And so that silver lining of what I thought was. The end of my high school world, and so therefore I went to West Virginia University in Morgantown. Such a beautiful state. The mountains. It's a it's a bit of an impoverished state, but it was such a melting pot. You have your down home West Virginians, you have your East Coast folks, your Carolinas, and it was just a beautiful melting pot that I got to meet people I would have never met had I stayed in Indiana my whole life.
Sure.
So,
so you're a West Virginia mountaineer, journalism grad.
Journalism grad, yes.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
And so those lessons from mom and dad stuck through, which is cool. So I think the opportunity to learn, or the realization that there's more to you than just being you. You have this thing called a mind, and you excelled. So
it's a
then,
mindset.
Were you like straight A's in college, or were you crazy? Were you a little bit crazy in
well,
college? Did you have fun?
It's funny. I remember getting to college, and people were just going a little nuts, being in college and doing the party thing. I thought, gosh, that's high school. I've done that, know. And so I, had a little more fun freshman, sophomore year, of course, but then I got it together junior and senior year. So,
cool.
Always, honor roll and
all that good stuff.
Good to go. Yes.
All right. So you're out of college and you're 30 years old now. Like, what happened? Were you married at 30?
At 30, I had my daughter, Sophia.
All right.
Yes.
So the attitude lesson, I know you already talked about her being born, but place yourself at 30, and what did you learn when you were 30?
Yeah, so gosh, 30s. So I'll tell you, I went through a lot of infertility.
Oh, wow.
I have endometriosis, which we did not discover until I was trying to get pregnant and couldn't.
Right.
For a lot of you out there, I know struggling and trying, women with your infertility, people don't talk about it, right? It is very prevalent. I had miscarriages. I had to do infertility treatments. And so when I finally got pregnant, it was the happiest time of my life.
Yeah.
And I had a great pregnancy, and I always felt like God is giving me this gift of a great pregnancy because I went through hell and high water to get pregnant,
Right.
so I get this gift. So, also I will, it was a full circle moment for me. I'm actually adopted,
right.
and I was adopted at birth. Went home from the hospital with my parents,
Wow.
and so I had yearned as a little girl to see what does my bloodline look like. What would a child of mine look like? And so that was a nice full circle moment. And
Sure.
so yeah.
Did you ever find your birth parents?
Yes, I did.
We don't have time.
That'll
be on
podcast.
Her next podcast, Jason.
That is a whole podcast.
Yeah, we got infertility. We may have to bring you back, right? But real hard life experiences that you brought in your 30s. It sounds like you grew up quite a bit and went, holy moly, right?
Yeah, I mean that was, devastation, right?
Yeah.
For me, the one thing as a little girl, I always wanted to be a mom, and then to think that there was a chance I could not biologically have my own child.
Sure.
That was devastating for me. But it was my faith that carried me through. Going back to, again, what my parents taught me, to have faith and to believe and to keep persevering and just to believe it, right?
Yeah.
And to do my part, to take care of myself, so that my body could accept that.
It's no wonder you do the work that you do, right? It's pretty amazing when we hear your story.
Oh, thank you.
What a gift to a lot of people. All right, so now you're 40, right? Do you remember your 40th birthday?
I do. Trent threw me a 40th birthday party. Yes.
Was it fun?
It was fun.
Nice.
It was fun. Friends and family at the house. It was fun, yes.
And you were in the corporate world at Century 21 Sheets, where we both worked. What was your attitude lesson at the beginning of your 40s?
Yeah, so, the beginning of my 40s, it was such an exciting time. I'll tell you again, then, Trent and I had also, had recently suffered some more miscarriages and infertility.
Yeah,
and,
tough.
So still, going through that whole process again. But also, thriving in my career, just very happy and flourishing, busy with kids, with football practices, soccer, and, doing that whole thing. And, as I said, we had discovered CrossFit, and
right.
We were just high on life and very happy, and always seeking ways to grow in our health journey. Things that I thought I knew or that I thought were, quote, healthy for me, discovering, as I have over the last 25, 30 years, really may not have been as healthy.
Right.
Realizing in my 20s I was eating a lean cuisine, thinking that was healthy.
Yeah, not good.
Oh gosh, and so 40s it was like Trent and I eating a lot of protein. And, I quit eating red meat in 1989.
Right.
But it was, how can we fuel our body to be optimally physically and mentally?
Very cool.
And then, of course, at age 43, is when I lost Trent, and my world changed and continued that evolution and transformation.
Yeah, the ability to have food properly prepared,
Key.
It is, but oh my God,
It
a lot of
takes work.
effort.
We would spend Sundays watching football and prepping in the kitchen.
Right,
For the whole week,
Right.
setting ourselves, and that goes along too with we took the Dave Ramsey financial class, and,
Right.
and the same mindset of preparing.
Your
Preparing
future.
in advance your future and how you want to live like no one else
Right.
today, so you can later, right?
Right.
And how, if you want to save and fill your buckets, fill these different buckets, fill your bucket in your body.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So now you just turned 50. We're through knowledge through the decades. Tell us what the attitude lesson was at 50. What does your future hold in store for you? And lastly, what's the message to the gappers out there about attitude, the way you see attitude, and what you hope and wish for them who are listening?
Yeah. So, gosh, turning 50, what a gift. I always, am happy to share my birthday because I've lost so many people who never made it to 50.
Right.
My husband didn't make it to 50. I've had friends who've succumbed to breast cancer and other illnesses that didn't make it. So I'd say celebrate every age, right? Celebrate our age and know that the best is yet to come.
Sure.
I believe that, and I have believed that for a while. And to know that it's never too late. It's never too late to, whether it's to lose weight and feel better, it's never too late to start a business, to make a change. It's never too late.
I love it.
And also, life is short. To wake up every day with intention. Every day, Buddha, every day is a chance to begin again.
Right.
Every day is, and what we do every day matters more than what we do once in a while. So live with intention, live with purpose. And if we're still here, we're breathing, there's purpose for us.
Sure. Yeah.
Figure it out.
Every day is the first day of the rest of your
That's
life.
right.
It's just like being reborn again,
It is reborn again. And that's hard to hear, in a pandemic when so many people are suffering.
Yeah.
It sounds good, right? It sounds good in theory, but when you're in it and you're stuck, that's why I get back to one bite at a time. One day, prepare your lunch, practice to get sleep, love yourself, look to your faith. Slow down and get settled, one of these at a time. And eventually it'll become just how you roll.
Do you have a
live.
mantra that you say to yourself?
Oh, I'm a mantra affirmation junkie.
Yes. All right.
Yes.
Give us one or two of your favorite, and then we'll get you out of here because we're a little late. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
it's an I am, right? It's an I, because one of my big teachers, Joel Osteen.
Oh, yeah.
The power of I am. Preach. We become whatever we say after the words I am.
Yes.
If you've ever noticed, if you say to yourself, "Oh gosh, I'm so tired. I am so tired," we become more tired.
Right.
Right. So I wake up and I actually, have this whole morning routine, but part of that is
I knew you
I
did.
Have a whole,
I knew
it. Part of that intention setting, that meditating is, I'll say I am. Oftentimes it's what am I needing? If I'm not feeling safe or I'm not feeling complete or whole, or if I'm not feeling energized, and some days I have more energy than others, then I say what I need to feel.
I love it.
It's always I am
So
blessed.
good.
I start with always I am blessed. I start saying my prayers and gratitude before I even get out of bed and my feet hit the floor. But, starting with gratitude, but I am blessed, I am safe, I am favored, I am healthy, I am strong, I am resilient. And I would say, pick an affirmation to go to that you need, that you want to feel like, and especially if you don't, act as if. Because when we say it, our body listens to what our mind says.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I am honored, and we as gappers are just thrilled that you came here. I could definitely
I
do
am thrilled.
easily another hour with you. How good was
yes.
she, Emily? Huh?
Oh, thank you.
We have our young intern, Emily Hannon, in here with us. So, Susan, thank you so much for sharing your journey.
Thank you. What a privilege, what an honor. And, you're doing such great, important work. People are seeking exactly what you're sharing and what you're teaching. They're seeking, how do I get an attitude of resilience and of thriving, not just surviving, right? They're seeking what you're doing. Your work is important.
Thank you very much.
You.
Well, it wouldn't be the same. This is Glenn Bill with the world famous Susan Van Hoosen on the Get Attitude podcast, focusing on eating right and exercising. And if you don't feel better after that, you must be dead. So let's make sure that you come back to The Gap when we have more fantastic guests. This is our last interview of Attitude Booster number 9, and we will be Attitude Booster number 10. Be a part of something bigger than yourself on our upcoming episode. Susan, thanks again. You're the best. All right.
Thank you.
Be good. Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste.